Welcome back to the RANT, and the Brady Bunch is in operation here. We've got a very special guest who's got plenty to say for himself. Richie Irvine, hello.
G'day boys, how you doing?
Hey Richie.
G'day Richie.
Now, you rocked certainly the punting world last week with an announcement of your imminent retirement. What's the story?
Biggest announcement since Alan Jones walked off the stage, wasn't it?
It's not linked, Richie. Was that linked?
Maybe it is. AJ brought them. AJ's responsible for the minimum bet limit. Really, that was the when I went on his program. That was great. That got a lot of I don't know, momentum behind it all. But I just sort of decided. I'll just sort of run through it as quickly as possible. I think there's quite a few things that need to get changed, and I was trying to work out what the best way to do that was. And I found myself in a position where for the last 3 years, I always go to the regulators and ask them if they can change this, this, and this. And they mostly ignore me or don't act upon any of the things that I've asked for. And I'm, generally asking for myself, but also on behalf of punters, because, I get a lot of feedback of what could be done better. So this is probably for the last 3 years, it's sort of been going nowhere. I've always asked to actually go into these regulators and have meetings with them. Like, for example, Racing New South Wales, I've been trying to have a meeting with them for a long time, could never make it happen. Then I thought, well, maybe if I try and get everyone behind it, get all punters involved and put together some sort of punters union, that would be a good way forward. And essentially just saying to the regulators, give us punters an hour to 90 minutes once a year where we can hit you with a whole lot of questions and demands, I guess. Not demands, requests, I should say. And you'll evaluate them and let us know if you're going to make any changes about them. And then if you don't, we might get something, we might not get others, but then we'll accept it. We'll we'll punt the best we can in the environment for another year. And then another year later, we'll come back to you again.
It's like a yearly review.
Yeah, just, exactly. And I thought it made great sense. Sent it to all the regulators. After a week, got zero response from everyone except for Racing Victoria. And where it's disappointing is I did email my thoughts to the CEOs of each principal racing authority, but I also emailed to the people who in the past, the CEOs of these PRAs have directed me to, they get my email, they're too busy to deal with someone like me, or more that they're just pushing me into the direction of the people in the wagering department who can help them. So with all these different PRAs, I send it to the CEO, but also 2, sometimes 3 of the people below the CEO who I've had dealings with in the past, and I got nothing back. So I probably hit up 15 people across Australia in the different, PRAs, and only one got back to me from Racing Victoria, and which didn't really surprise me. But this is the status quo for the last few years. They virtually ignore me, do nothing to make things better for punters, and there's a lot of problems out there around the minimum bet limit and deductions and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I was kind of tired of it anyway, and just decided that. And I've got 2 kids, as I was saying, other things interest me, and I was sort of getting nowhere. And I thought, 1, I don't want to do it anymore. And 2, maybe a bit of a strategic play is try and make a bit of a scene about the fact that I'm trying to get a better connect between punters and the regulators, and they can't even acknowledge my request for a better connect. So that disconnect that I believe is there is even more magnified now by their actions. And even like what I dropped out of Twitter and put a thing up on Twitter, I guess about a week ago, and since then haven't heard anything either. Like, you'd think maybe they might, write to me because of that, because I heard something. I mean, they do hear things. Like, as soon as I say anything slightly controversial, I hear straight away that, that person didn't like that, instantly. So they hear what we all say on Twitter and they see it. And not to mention, like, the original tweet I put up, like, I added all the different principal racing authorities, like, Racing New South Wales, all that kind of stuff. And there was probably 300 or 400 interactions on Twitter with it. So, whoever does their social media, they would have seen that there's something going on with this tweet. Their customer base is talking about this particular tweet. How can they react? And their reaction was absolutely nothing. So overall, I think it's disappointing, and they should have done better.
So is that worse than your previous engagements with the authorities?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they've been good to bring in the minimum bet limit, and there's been pretty good dialogue with them. Like, I think it's about 5 or 6 years since the minimum bet limit came in, and I think that my correspondence and dialogue with them since then has dissipated to the point now where it's virtually non-existent, and they literally ignore my emails. Whether or not it's because they're too busy or they don't like my style, or I don't know. But I give them plenty of opportunity to write back to me. I write back to them on a number of occasions when they just don't ever write, just constant correspondence. And so, so that's where I'm at,
So to look at you, Richard, you look fucking exhausted.
Look at the advocacy stuff. I mean, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you've done so much." It wasn't a huge amount of work. It was just, sort of ticking over and all that kind of stuff. But I guess, I mean,
what's that word?
Yeah, a bit exhausted of it all. No, a bit exhausted of the mental effort that it takes to sort of basically get nowhere. I would agree with that.
But it's everyone's frustration. Mark Lambourne runs our small business. He's the head honcho in our business. He'd reply to every email if someone wanted a response, wouldn't you, Mark? Isn't that just normal business practice to respond?
Yeah,
Totally.
I'm surprised that they're not even acknowledging you.
You would have appreciated. Listen, Rich, read your thing. Get fucked. You'd appreciate that.
Yeah, that's it. That's just at least that. I mean, even with Racing New South Wales, I sent it to PVL and then 2 people under him. Now, I completely understand that there's one person in the country who's more important and busy than Scott Morrison. That's PVL. So I don't expect a response from him. But the 2 people under him could have responded to me, or at the least, PVL can say to someone below, "Hey, I got this email from Richard. Can someone talk to him?" But you just get nothing. Look, it's not good enough. I mean, I'm not having a crack at PVL because he's bloody busy, but the people below him should have done better. At least just write back to me and say, "We don't like your idea." That's it. But nothing is not good enough.
It's pretty terrible, isn't it?
Nothing's terrible.
You need a bat. You know what I mean? So
Need a what? Sorry.
Well, unless you can affect their bottom line or the image that they think they maintain, then they're less likely to be, helpful.
Well,
for
I'll
you.
give you an analogy that I think is a good one. I was thinking about it the other night. So when Dr. Nick was leaving, remember there was stuff in the paper about how PVL went and had a meeting with him and tried to convince him to stay.
Mm.
So let's assume like the sort of the semi-professional, sophisticated gamblers that I've kind of represented, like, a few thousand of us that I've sort of represented as we push forward. How many times bigger is our business than Dr. Nick's business? Like, is it 20, 30, 100, like all of our combined turnover?
Yes.
Is it like 50 times bigger than Dr. Nick? Probably. And Dr. Nick gets a personal meeting, and then, we as a group have got nothing, So, and I'm not trying to in any way place importance on myself. Like, I'm just one of all of us. And if someone else might have had a better experience than me, they, it's not just me who writes these people. But I guess, So that's where we're at. And that's sort of why it's good to come on your show and just sort of say where it's at, and hopefully it'll lead to.
So what's the future hold for you, young Rich? What, are you out of the game, or are you still?
No, not at all. No, love the game more than ever. Never been more motivated by it.
Okay.
But just I've done my bit. I guess I just reached the end of the road of it. They don't want to hear from me, and whether or not it's because I don't know why that is, but they don't. So I just get on and do other things. I'll always have an opinion on how things can be done better for punters, but I just felt it was better. It's just time to. I mean, people sort of come to me and sort of expect me to keep leading the charge, and I just got the point where I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. And it's time for someone else to pick up the slack, and there'll be someone else out there will be great.
Are you looking to get into the corporate world in any way, or are you happy where you are and staying there?
Yeah, no, I just keep doing what I'm doing. Just betting.
No thoughts of changing career paths or just staying in the
I'm completely institutionalized like you, Glenn. I mean, what hope have either of us got outside of racing and betting, really? So
I think you're a young man still. I'm nearly 60. You're early 40s. It's different for you. Yeah, I think you could be an ornament to working for Racing New South Wales if the money was big enough.
Sure. I mean, who knows where I'll go. I still love it, and I think I have a lot to offer, whatever career path I take. But at the moment, I'm very happy in the little syndicate that I bet in, and it's very challenging, and we'll just keep pushing forward with that.
Richie, did you ever try to get like an official union together with like membership and all that kind of stuff?
Not really, because like, I mean, I kind of suspected that the regulators would have pretty limited interest in it, and it's just a huge amount of work, and I just didn't really think how it would be that effective. I mean, if you want to have something like that, what you have to do is go and get every single regulator to agree that they're going to like put you into their legislation, that they will talk to you before they make any rules and product fee changes and that. Like, there's just no way. I mean, none of them are going to agree to that. So I just don't think it ever.
So you're in a rock and a hard place, Richard, because you need to get all these 2,000 people that turn over 50, 100 times more than Dr. Nick together as a group so that you can make collective action. But they also don't want anybody to know who they are, sort of as well.
Yeah.
It's like this catch-22 you're in, because if we can get the 2,000 people together and just say, well, fuck yous, we won't bet for a week.
That will never happen. That never works, Scott. It's never worked since the beginning of punting.
And they've relied upon
happened.
Not working.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If they've got all the power, then they're less likely to respond to things that we want to happen. So
but that's okay. Look, we just roll on, and if we can't make money, we just move on, or we don't enjoy it anymore, we just move on. We've pointed out the things that they can do to make it easier for us to stay involved and engaged. I did it last week, and there's no doubt that all the PRAs would have seen what I wrote. Like, they just have chosen to ignore it.
So has there ever been any acknowledgement that we are actually the customers? And if you were in any other business, you'd be bloody besieged with customer services and, how can we improve our business and how can we help you more? Is there ever any acknowledgement that that relationship exists?
I think it's really dropped away in the last few years. Like every single PRA should once a year be putting out a survey forum to punters, and it should be maybe one geared towards a more sophisticated gambler and another one towards your recreational gambler. I mean, I don't think they have that, and especially to the sophisticated ones. I mean, you think about the when they used to have the commission room back at the races, they'd do they'd roll out the red carpet for everyone in that commission room, and now that no one's in there anymore, and we're all at home and whatnot, it feels like that doesn't happen anymore.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Look, a bit. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on them, because the PRAs do a pretty good job, and I'm coming really from a point of view of stuff regarding the minimum bet limit and stuff, and the frustrations that have. And it's, I mean, the schemes of the industry, it's a pretty minor thing, and it affects not a huge amount of people, but of course we do matter. And it's not as if I haven't been patient. Like, the problems with the minimum bet limit, I've been punching away at for like 3 years, and they just, they just.
I see the job is done, perhaps.
Yeah, I think I think that, and I think they allow the bookies way too much leeway and give the bookies way too much benefit of the doubt. Like, you'll see it now, like lots of bookies are coming, especially a lot of the on-course bookies, because they can't go on course. They're starting to open up online sites, and as soon as they get people like me and Kingsley and all those kind of people hitting them, they suddenly go, oh, we don't really want these people betting with us. And then when they realize that they're trying to take bets on a Monday, and they've got a couple of clients betting with them, and then they've got us betting with them, they go, well, this is no good. So they start to look at ways to try and get rid of us. And then they start pouring through the minimum bet limit rules and working out strategic ways that if they do that, does that mean that they can reject a bet on us? And it's just an ongoing thing for us.
Yeah, but that is, the bookies tend to be like that, don't they, Glenn? They really, across the ages have been very defensive and have looked for ways just to not acknowledge punters.
Yeah, and it was the same on track. Like when I was throwing money on for the boys, it'd be heaps. There'd always be 2 or 3 bookies who would, I was too quick for them, so they were trying to work out ways that they could, make it harder for me. So it's just part of it, So
you're not old enough to remember David Cohen, but he was the absolute best.
Right, he must have been just before my time. He's down in Melbourne, isn't he?
No, he's Sydney bookie.
Sydney bookie, David Cohen. Okay,
David Cohen. He had a big black hat and he never smiled once.
There you go. What was he like? 80s or something?
Oh, just 80s.
Yeah. Long dead. Anyway, Rich, is there any are there any tips that you can give your successor? Because hopefully there will be a successor.
There won't be, Mark. There won't be. Patience is a virtue.
If anyone wants to, patience is a virtue. Don't, keep pushing forward and don't be intimidated when you think you're in the right, and which is apt for you boys at the moment. And look, I mean, if anyone really is genuine about taking up the cause, I'll give them all the guidance and help I can, and would happily help push things along in the background.
But it sounds like, and you mentioned at the top of the show, that the success that you found really came as a result of finding a patron, a sponsor, AJ.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
so they will actually listen when you're side by side with someone that's one of them.
Yeah, and I think the ironic thing about that is I kind of think PVL organised that. Like, I think PVL and Masara pushed me. Like, I don't know how Alan Jones found me, but I'd had a few conversations with John Masara back then, and then suddenly Alan Jones' show is calling me. And the only possible way I can think is that PVL and Masara said, "Hey, have this guy on. We want to give the corporate bookies a rev up to be fairer." So,
okay, all right. So they sort of used you in a sense.
Yeah.
Well, that gets massive media and response. Is there a way you can do it from a ground level? You know what I mean? Is there a way? I mean, we've got these massive Twitter followers and we've got a massive database and whatever. Like, what would happen if we got 4,000 people to email in and ring up particular authors? It'd
be huge. I mean, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that would have a huge impact. I mean, that's probably the best thing that can happen is if anyone can spare the 15 minutes, they should write and they feel that we haven't been given a fair go, because probably what's going to happen is the next racing year is going to roll around and we're going to have the same betting limits. Bookies are still going to be able to avoid minimum bet limits. We'll still have the same shitty deductions. Nothing's going to change. And yet the marketplace has changed so much, like there'll be no bet easy anymore. You bet will probably go. So, and all that kind of stuff. And the market changes, but the minimum bet limit can just stay the same. So the best thing anybody can do is take the 15 minutes, write up an email, and then copy and paste it to all the different PRAs. And yeah, as you say, if like a few thousand people did that, it would make a huge difference. If 50 people did it, it would make a huge difference.
And what about would it affect the effect of the email if say somebody who had a really big database just wrote an email up, emailed it to their client list and got them to forward it in, so to speak? Would it, you see what I mean? Because people are very lazy. So if it took them a minute, they'd do it. But 15 minutes, fucking too much.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, you sound as though you're the closest to wanting to take up the mantle as the patron saint of punting. So.
I just realised since we started this Slack chat up that there is just like hundreds of guys out there that are super passionate about it, and they are interested in these things. But look,
what should be happening is the PRA should be sending all these people a survey once a year and getting their feedback. And so far as I can tell, I don't think that's happening. And the first question from the PRA that should be asked to the PRAs is, are you getting enough feedback from your customers? And if they say yes, will you tell us how it is? Because at the moment, I don't see how they are.
Yeah.
But don't they actually see the other participants as their customers? They're the suppliers to the racing game, the trainers and the jockeys and the owners and the other.
So you think they see the jockeys and the trainers as their customers?
You're the one that's actually had some face-to-face discussions with them when you've been lucky enough to get to snag a meeting. Do they have a comprehension or an understanding of what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, they do. Yeah, absolutely. And they do. I mean, they all know that the punter is the most important, I mean, punters and owners really. I mean, they do know that. That wouldn't be fair to say that they don't realise that, because they absolutely do.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, then they're seriously derelict in their duty there, aren't they? But, you can't even plead ignorance.
We're like the abused dog. They kick us all the time. We still wag our tail when they come home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's one of those games that it's easy to be very enthusiastic about, and when you like that, you don't get the best treatment because you're not set up to get good treatment.
Yeah. Well, look, the best thing that can come out of this, if they can get that forum/survey thing going, or even just an open feedback thing that, there's a month of the year where you can write in whatever, and they'll have a team of people that'll look through it all, and so that would help.
Because the thing is, the racing club, the principal racing authorities now have quite an extraordinary amount of power over all the wagering providers, power that they didn't once have before race fields.
Would they have absolute power? I think they can do whatever they want, which is to our benefit. But yeah.
And is there a lobby group that's attached to the wagering providers that has more of an interface with the PRAs?
Yeah, there's that joint called Responsible Wagering Australia, which still goes around. I think it's been reasonably ineffective.
Well, it's got a terrible name to start with.
Responsible Wagering Australia. Yeah. But yeah, there's that. But I've had a bit to them. They're doing their best. But that's a fully funded, set up lobby group. Like, I'd imagine their budget would be somewhere between 500 and 1,000 million a year. I mean, they've got 3 or 4 staff, and they've got offices, and they've, probably even more than that. So yeah.
All right, Rishi. Well, we wish you well in your retirement. You've done an amazing job thus far.
Yeah.
You've been
all
tireless.
Unpaid work too. Like, to think of it, like, there's just no way. No one's more passionate about betting than me. But obviously you are, Rich, because I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but it is unpaid. But I was like, if I can get this minimum bet limit through, I'm a much better chance to be able to make money. So it was,
I understand.
Slightly self-interested.
Yeah, but that's everything in life is self-interest.
That's
really,
how things work.
Still, you're the one that took the baton up, and I'm sure there's, people are very appreciative of the effort. It's a shame that. Don't worry, Richie. I still remember when you were a kid working for Warren Woodcock, and every time I come out and have 100 on it, Richie would always give me a $50 free bet because at Glenn's to take that with your ticket. And fucking, I think I got a bank out of it once. So he's always been, he's a good boy deep down, that Richie Irvine. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, it's Woodcock. It was the Nursery of Champions, Woodcock. He's
fucking Nursery of Champions.
Yeah.
Do you remember those $50 free bets for certain punters? I got one. I used to get 3 a day off Richie. I eat off them.
Do you think it was just
Quinella bets?
Do you think it was just random, or what was going on with Warren Woodcock?
No, the reason because it was a sort of an open slather to do your to learn, and because Warren would give everyone a chance, and he sort of didn't have that much of an idea himself, so he sort of wanted younger people to come in who had more idea about what was going on in betting rings than him, to help him make money. I mean, the big thing was that Sean and Kingsley worked for him for a long time, so that kind of set him up to be that kind of a boss, really. That
he's the unlikely mentor, isn't he?
Yeah, it's
he's
funny,
the unlikely hero.
Yeah, and I remember when I was working for him, and then I said, and I got the opportunity to go and put money on for the boys, and I said I had to quit working for Warren, and I thought it wasn't going to go very well, but I called him and said, I've got this opportunity to go and put money on for Sean and Kings, and I was expecting it not to go very well, and straight away he said, you should go and do it. It's going to be an adventure, and I wish you all the best with it. And what was that, 16, 17 years ago, and it's been the best adventure, and hopefully keep going.
What a fucking champion Warren is, honestly.
Yeah, no, he's got a great heart deep down as well. So
he's a great guy. I still can see him turning up at his first Harold Park trot meeting, an American type bookmaker turning up. I was like in my 20s, and I thought, look at this fucking idiot. This is going to be like peeling grapes, and all these years there he is. And he's still such a good-hearted man. You can bag him, and you can just say anything to him. I always say to him often lately, I say, Warren, how come all my hair's grey and you haven't got any greys? And he goes, oh, Glenn, leave me alone.
Because I used to have to pick him up. He'd get his hair, he'd get a cut and colour on Oxford Street, and I have to go and pick him up, and he'd be all the hair dye would be running down his face and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like that on summer days, Gord. Even now,
Yeah. Oh
I
my
got-
he
I
hasn't
got-
got a grey hair.
Yeah.
It's just
I got
the
a- I can leave you with a
absolute
good Warren story that I reckon you'll find funny. So 20 years ago when I was working for him, and I was the whipping boy, he'd always call me to whenever shit went wrong. And he called me one morning, and it was about 8:30. It was a race morning, and we had to be out of Rose Hill, whatever. Pretty soon he says, "I have a problem that I need you to help me with. Somehow I've managed to lose the roof of my car." And I was like, "What? You've lost the roof of your car?" And he had that old convertible MX-5. And anyway, he went out to dinner at Five Ways, and then I think he had his dog, and he took the convertible roof off the car to leave his dog in the car while he had dinner, and then got back in the car and then drove home without the roof. But then he couldn't remember where he parked it. So before we went to Rose Hill, we spent the morning driving around Paddington trying to find the roof of his car. And I was like,
that's the best.
So was he having a couple of drinks with dinner, was he? That doesn't sound like safe driving.
I'd assume that part of the reason that he forgot to put the roof back on and couldn't find it the next day was he probably smashed a couple bottles of Chardonnay.
Yeah.
What a great story. It's stories like that when you're on your deathbed in 50 years, Richie Irvine, you'll think of stories like that.
Yeah, no.
Great stories. They're just great times. What a great man he is. And he'll be straight there as soon as COVID ends. He'll be there putting up the odds.
Straight there. I mean, he sort of revolutionised the betting rings out of the races, and he was way ahead of everybody else by going inside and not. And he made fantastic money in the in the 90s. The cash we used to take was just crazy. At the end of the day, you couldn't count it all. Like just the cash money. It was such a good business.
So he was the first one to do marketing too, wasn't he? Out there, or one of the first?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point, Gord. It was a funny type of marketing, but he was. I mean, now it's just all these businesses are these days is marketing, And he was
a corporate.
He had his own particular. All the other bookies would just stand out there and be bland and boring, and then he, brought a bit of flair to it all, and that's why he did so well. So yeah.
Great to have you on the show, Rich. You're always welcome on our show. You know that.
Appreciate that, boys.
Hey, next time you come back on, it'll be to do a form preview, Richie. You up for it? Maybe. That'd be a scoop.
Well, the way I'm going with Racing New South Wales, will probably give me 5 years in the boob, so you might be able to just buy my share out. You'll be sweet.
Slot straight in.
Slot straight in.
All right, boys, go on. You keep going hard with your stuff. You're allowed to make a joke.
All right.
See you, Rich.
Cheers,
Thanks so much,
boys.
Rich. Bye.